while since we've done any underwater hull maintenance, so I've got some downtime today and decided that I'd go underneath the boat and do some inspections and probably clean down the hull. Last time we had the hull cleaned was in San Francisco in April, probably. Anyway, we normally, when we were back home, we paid a diver to clean the bottom of the hull. Now that we're cruising, a couple of things: we don't have access to divers when we're in remote spots, and also because we're trying to do this on a budget, I am now our official underwater hull cleaner, diver, jack of all trades underwater, whatever you want to call it. Depending on the water temperature, sometimes you have to clean the boats, sometimes as often as every 3 weeks when it's warm in Southern California. Up here in the Northwest, I'm guessing there's not going to be a whole lot of growth. Probably just a little bit of things to clean down. Our rails over our stern thruster, because they're exposed to sunlight, have a fair amount of growth on them, but I assume that I'll find underneath the boat there's not much more. Maybe a few things to wipe off of the running gear, things like that. Anyway, as part of doing our underwater maintenance, there's a bunch of zincs that are attached to the running gear, and those kind of look like this. This is a zinc for our main prop. This goes over the back of the prop. There's no shaft exposed because of the way the boat's built, so the prop comes out through a hole in the back of the boat, and then there's the propeller and then the rudder. So this goes over the back of the propeller versus on a shaft, like where you'd have a traditional boat with a cutlass bearing. On the wing engine, it does have a traditional cutlass bearing and exposed shaft. It's a 1-inch diameter shaft, so it takes these things. These things burn through pretty quickly because there's not a lot of material, so I'm assuming that I will have to change this. And then both our bow and stern thrusters also have zincs that go on the ends of the props for the bow and stern thrusters. And then another thing that we've got is a line cutter called a spurs that is in between the prop and where it comes out of the boat, and that's to cut kelp and fishing line and stuff like that. That also has a zinc anode, so I might have to replace this too. It's also pretty small. And then the other zinc that I've got here, this one I know needs to be replaced. This is the big transom zinc. So all of the metal through-hole penetrations on our boat are bonded with heavy copper wire, and all of that copper bonding runs back to a plate on the back of the transom, right kind of underneath our stern thruster. And so I'm assuming this one will have to be replaced. These things usually last 6 months to a year, depending on what kind of activity you've got in the water. The water is a lot warmer than I expected it would be up here in the Northwest. It's actually not much colder than it is in San Francisco Bay, but I still consider it cold. It's probably just a little bit below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't like cold water, so I'm wearing a dry suit with pretty thick insulation, and then I'm also going to wear dry gloves. Kind of hinders your dexterity a little bit, these big thick things, but your hands won't get cold. And then I've got a 12mm hood, so with all this gear I can stay in the water for an hour and not really feel the cold. The boat was in pretty good shape overall. The bottom was a little bit dirty, but not too bad because of the, I think it's because of the cold water. The bow thruster zincs are completely gone. The screws have fallen out and everything. And I'm not sure if that's just because of vibration, because we use the bow thruster more than we use the stern thruster. But if anybody has any ideas how to get those things tighter or what you can do to keep them from falling off, I'd love to hear it. Because it seems like I replace those things almost every time I go in to check them. And I don't know if you can put Loctite on underwater or something. That might be an option, but it might be kind of hard to do. Other than that, the zinc on the stern on the transom needed to be replaced, and the running gear I just kind of wiped down. We have a product called Prop Speed that we put on there last time I was in the yard, which makes the running gear pretty self-cleaning. When the prop's turning, it actually kind of cleans itself, and so didn't have to do much to the prop and the shafts and everything other than just give them a light wipe with a white pad. And then the stern thruster guard was covered in green growth, but that's really just more of kind of an aesthetic thing. It doesn't really affect how the boat works or anything. So I got that all cleaned up. Overall, it was in pretty good shape.